So a case comes to us after there's been some type of investigation. It can be by a police department, it can be by the sheriff's department, it can be by our investigators, it could be by a state welfare fraud investigator, it doesn't matter. Some investigation will happen. And it might not be, like a one like this with crime scene tape and little placards. It could be something real small. Right, an investigation is an officer pulling somebody over and seeing a little baggie next to the seat, or their eyes are red and they think they might be under the influence. That's still an investigation. So some type of investigation will occur. Then after that investigation, the officer, deputy, whatever, has a couple decisions to make. They got to make a decision what they're going to do. If they believe that a crime has been committed, and they use a standard called probable cause, which is relatively low standard, they can make an arrest. Usually if it's a felony, they'll make an arrest. Usually they won't if it's a misdemeanor, unless somebody's on probation or they have a warrant in the system. So they got to make this decision. Do I arrest? Do I cite them out? And if you see that cite up there, it's like a ticket, like a traffic ticket. And law enforcement give people these tickets, and then they'll get a court date. So somebody could get arrested and not necessarily go to jail. They'll get a ticket, and then they'll get a date, they'll get a cite letter or a date. Or the law enforcement officer could decide, you know what? I have probable cause, but I don't know if this is enough for the DA, so I'm just going to send it over and not do anything. I'm just going to tell the suspect, the person I'm talking to, I'm going to submit this to the DA. You'll hear something if they call. So they really have three decisions to make. But either way, they'll complete a police report of some kind, and they'll submit that to us. Now, some people are under the impression that every arrest that is made by police officers gets filed by the DA's office, and that's not true. In fact, it's not a low percentage, but it's not 100% at all. So the case comes over to us, we read the case, we look at the pictures, we look at if there's audio of an interview or pictures or something like that. We'll review all that. A lot of times we'll talk to the victim, we'll talk to the officer that submitted it, and we'll make a decision. Do we have, not probable cause, but do we have enough evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that we can prove this case to a jury? That's our standard. It's a little higher. It's a lot higher, actually. And if we do, then we'll file the case. We'll file something called a complaint. It's a paper document, but we're electronic now, paperless, so we shoot it over to the court, email, and the case will be filed. Then it starts over in court. But we have some other options. Sometimes we get cases and they just need some more work, right? There's probable cause, maybe, but then we need a little bit more work. Go take a statement from this person. Send over the pictures. See if you can get this information. So we'll send it back to the agency, and we call that a request for further. So that doesn't mean it's not necessarily going to get filed. We just need more information. And this sometimes you see on the news where somebody's arrested, and then they say they were released. Yeah, they were released, but if the statute of limitations doesn't run, we can still charge people for a long time. The sex crimes we're talking about today, a minimum of 10 years for sex crimes and up to, it could be 30 years in some instances, depending on the age of the victim. Or we can just deny the case outright, and it's gone forever. And it could be a police officer makes this arrest, they believe they've got the person, it's a murder case, the news covered it, and we can look at it and go, we don't have enough for beyond a reasonable doubt, and we reject it, and it's over. So the buck kind of stops with the DA's office. It's kind of a checks and balances, right? If you ever take constitutional law, in school, it's a checks and balance. It's good. It's a good thing to have. It's a very good thing to have. So what we do at the DA's office is we're not just the ones that go to court and prosecute cases and try and put the bad guys and bad gals in jail, but we try to crime prevention too. I mean, a high crime rate is great job security, but I think most of us, and I think the law enforcement officers in this room would agree, we'd rather be out of work and have people safe and healthy and happy, especially kids. So we do a lot of crime prevention work, right? And we work with victims a lot. We seek justice for victims. That's really our number one goal, is to try and make victims whole that come through our office. So we have our own Bureau of Investigations. We have full-time sworn peace officers in our office. They're like detectives. They're called DA investigators. We've got 17 of them, and they investigate cases. Sometimes after the agency will submit it, like Hanford Police Department, Lemoore. Sometimes we'll start them ourselves. And we have a little trailer that's behind the old courthouse, and that's our Victim Witness Assistance Program. And victims can come there. We can link them up with services. We've got a lot of different services for them. We can help them get restitution. We can transport them. We've got vehicles to transport them. Our advocates will go to court with them and explain the court process, and it's great. It really helps them get through the system. So we don't just have a big office full of attorneys. We've got investigators, we've got victim advocates, and we have support staff. So let's get into this social media stuff. And we're actually going to go through some of the apps, so I think you'll find it entertaining. Actually going to go through some of the newest ones. Some of the ones that are in, some of the ones that are out. And I'll give you some real-world examples from here in this county of ways that these apps were used in crimes and just in other ways. So when we talk about apps and social media, everybody always, this is what you think of, right? This faceless predator, this guy that's going to steal your children, or this person that's going to molest your kids. They're going to meet him at a truck stop, and they're going to do horrible things to him. But we see that once in a while, but we just don't see that all the time. But this is what everybody thinks of, right? That lurking in the darkness. In fact, the Tulare sheriff had a billboard like this, "Who's talking to your children?" Him, and it was just like that. And it kind of paints a picture that's relatively inaccurate. It really does. It really does. Because back when I was a kid, and there may be some people in this room that are my age, but when I was a kid, when your folks were buying a we're looking for a house, we're looking for a good neighborhood, right? Safe schools, good neighborhood, right? And what kept the bad problem kids away and the problem folks away was geographically, right? They're over there. They're on the other side of town. They're never going to get access to my kid, right? Geographically, they're way over there. They're not at my kid's school. But the phones and social media has changed all that, right? So that kid, that bad kid that your kid never had access to, now has access to him on the phone. I have 2 boys at CVC. Week 1, my son gets this instant message that says marijuana man. It's got all this marijuana. And so I responded directly to the kid. "Hi, this is Max's dad. I'm a district attorney. You know what that means? You might want to ask your parents." And I told the principal. He got a kick out of it, which concerned me that he thought it was funny. But I mean, this bad kid or problem kid had access to my kid, even though they had never met in person, through social media. So the geographic divide is over. Teachers, if you guys have clients that are students, your own kids, sometimes you're out there and you go like, "Who's that talking to my kid over there? That doesn't look, who's that smoking with my kid?" You used to see it in the old days. You'd see the problems. Now, how are you going to see a problem there? What are they talking about? Right? The visuals that we used to get are gone because it's all happening on social media now. So it's good to know what's going on and what these kids have and what they're accessing and what they're using. Right? Because this guy may not have geographical access to your kid, but he did to mine, sending that drug stuff. And then kids their brains aren't really developed, right? So they do stuff like this. They don't make great decisions. And these decisions sometimes affect them for the rest of their life. New hair saw for my birthday, thanks Dad. Not too bad. But this is the actual posting. Going to liven up the prom tonight. It's a little concerning now, isn't it? Right? And this actually happened. That's a little concerning. That post should concern everybody in this room. Right? Would you send your kids to prom if you saw that? Probably not. Right? And we file those cases. And we name everybody that didn't show up to prom as a victim. And it becomes real serious for these kids. It really does. So bullying. These kids gang up on each other. And with the apps that they're using now, there's really no way to track it back. Kids' self-worth sometimes is measured by the number of likes they have, whether people are following them, what people's comments are. So that's a problem. It may not be criminal, but it's a problem. And then teen dating violence. We do so much of this. Some of you guys, you've come with us, yeah. We go out to the schools. Any school that'll have us, we go out there and talk to them about this. Because these abusive behaviors start early. Right? You guys have all worked with domestic violence victims, I imagine. Some of you guys, you've seen them. They're caught in this cycle of violence. And they can't get out of it. That starts early. The behavioral habits of an abuser start really early in life. Demanding return text. You need to text me back when I text you. That type of stuff. You see that. You guys see that. That's a dangerous behavior. Kids get into this real early. So we go out and try and teach them. What does a healthy relationship look like? What does an unhealthy relationship look like? Who to contact if it's a problem. So hopefully we're reaching them. They seem to be real receptive. They're real talkative when we go out. But we've been in virtually all the schools. And we come to Adventist, to your new physicians, your resident physicians, and we train them all. They have them in and we train them all this stuff. They do in the afternoons. We go in there, we train them on human trafficking, teen dating violence, child abuse, everything we can think of, mandated reporting. So we're trying to get the word out there. This isn't stuff that should be kept secret. And then there's some cybercrime out there, right? There's a new thing kids are doing now where they're sharing each other's passwords so their friend can level up on a game for them. Well, gee, that password's probably linked to your Google Play account or maybe your Xbox Live account. So guess whose bank account they're getting into? This happens. It happens to us. Or, again, kids, they think stuff's funny, right? Nobody's putting the dog poop in the paper bag and lighting it on the doorstep anymore. They're putting stuff online. They think it's funny. But it causes problems and they get themselves into trouble, unfortunately. So we think that it's good to know about this stuff and these apps just so we can not only prevent crime, but guide kids in the right direction and keep an eye on what they're doing. So we're going to go through some of the social media apps, literally go through them. We're going to talk about some issues with social media, online crimes against children, CSEC, commercial sexual exploitation of children, which is something I feel very, very strongly about preventing, and teen dating violence, and just a little bit about cybercrime and theft. So just kind of what we talked about. We'll just kind of dig into it a little bit. So we talk to these teens. We go talk to them. They're honest with us. And they have told us that, yeah, we put pictures of ourselves online. What do we care? And we use our real name on the profile. We want people to know who we are. And we put their school name. You notice this a lot. They'll put that, Hampton West, class of 2020, or whatever. They're putting their identifiable information on there, which is great that they're being honest, but that should also be concerning too, because that immediately puts their location on somebody's radar. And yeah, that's a concerning one that we keep hearing. Yeah, we put our school name on there in our graduating class, so now they kind of know their age around there and where they're going. And most of the teens have told us they get contacted online from people they don't know on a relatively regular basis. Not necessarily creepy, but letters don't seem creepy. Not as pictures do. And the last one, look at that. They've lied about their age, because you got to do this, right? You can't get on a lot of these apps for that. Roll in your age on your phone, do a different birthday. You got to do it. And they've almost all said they do it. So we know they're doing it, right? How else will they have the apps, right? Every time unless you download an app for your kid or your student, they've got to at least say that they're a certain age. Very few apps have an actual age verification process. Very few. So these are some of the icons of some of the apps we're going through. If you don't know what an app is, I'm sure everybody does. It's an application that runs on a phone. It's kind of like a computer application. You click on Word, it opens up. On this, you tap it on your phone, it opens up. So we're going to go through them. Some of these might look familiar. Some of them might not. So how the heck do you get them, right? Well, you can get them in one of two places. There's two different kinds of phones, majorly, right? There's the iPhone, which used to look like this, right? It always had the kind of little flat thing on there. Had the round button. Sometimes has the Apple on the back, sometimes not, because this is an iPhone too, and the case won't have that. And there's an Android. And that's always a little different. There was a patent lawsuit many years ago, and all the Android phones had to use an oval instead of a circle. So that was the way you could always tell from looking at this. This one would have an oval. But now they look like this. I'm going to steal Valerie's phone. They're all smooth. There's no buttons anymore. They all look the same. They're all going to look the same with this full screen video, and that's when you see people turning it, bumping into stuff. They're all going to look the same, so it's going to be hard to tell the difference. But it's important to know the difference because you get the apps from different places. That's the App Store on the left there. That's Apple. And the right, that's called the Play Store. That's what it's called on Google. And that's where you download these apps and you can buy these apps and buy things. iPhone's the App Store, Android's the Play Store. You notice it says what they are. Kids have figured out a way that you can't see what apps are on phones anymore. Very interesting. So you might look at your kid's phone and see some of these icons today and go, none of those are on my student's phone or my client's phone or my kid's phone, but it's good to know what the icon looks like for the app because the icons can disappear. There's apps that get rid of them, and there's ways that you can hide what it is. If you notice there, that's an iPhone screenshot. You see there's a calendar at the top, photos, camera, weather. Any one of those, if you, what's called long hold on it, and drag it down here into this dock, the name of the app disappears. So if your kid has Snapchat, which is the little ghost one down there on the lower right, and you're looking through their phone, you go, there's no Snapchat on there. Good boy. Well, there it is in the dock. You missed it because it didn't have the words there. You missed it. Another thing that they can do is, if you look at this one, see right there where that little Google is, that's with that yellow circle? That's called a folder. So you can long hold on that thing and drag it in that folder so you won't see it as you're scrolling through it. It's in there, but you have to open that Google gray box there. You have to open that to get in there, and it has little apps in there. And they don't have the names on them as you see them there either. So if you're really going to dig through a kid's phone, you want to know what they got in there, dig a little deeper. Anything that has a bunch of little icons in it has apps that were drug into it. Modernly, it's called extras on the iPhone. Sometimes it's called utilities, and the kid can drag them wherever they want, so they can put it in utilities. If they're downloading a dating app and they're 12, which they shouldn't have, they can hide it in that Google folder or utilities, or make one that they want to hide it in, or drag it to the dock and you might not see it. So I have handouts today too. Before you go, I'll put them back there, and I have all the icons for all the apps we're talking about, so you can see what they look like. All right, so these are some of the popular ones. You guys probably recognize them. Some of them you might not, but the kids know what the heck they are. And I go through this all the time when we go out and we meet with kids and work with kids, and we figure out what they're using, what they're not using, what's still going on, what isn't, which ones they feel are creepy. So we get all that info. They probably think I'm creepy for asking, but too bad. So anybody recognize that one on the left? MySpace, right? It's dead. Anybody using MySpace? Come on. You probably still have a VCR, right? Twitter is still being used, usually by weirdos, but it's still being used. Kids have an account, they don't use it much. Facebook is still being used, but it's over 30 is the biggest number of people using Facebook now are over 30. Right? People going, first day of school pictures, right? Now they got these little signs and stuff. It's mostly adults that are using it. Kids they have a Facebook account. Usually they keep their parent off their back so they see like they're not up to anything and they can friend the parent. But kids are really not using Facebook much anymore. They're using the other apps. But Facebook now realized that, so they got Facebook Messenger, which is something that's used to communicate. So you should be aware of that. That's the icon that's on the right there. Facebook Messenger. We've had some problems with Facebook Messenger in the DA's office. That's what it looks like. So that's kind of what it looks like when you pull it up. You can put pictures in it. It's kind of like a texting app. The difference is if you're going to look through a kid's text on their phone, you go, all right, there we go, nothing bad there. This is not going to come through the regular messaging part of the phone, right? This is going to be through the Messenger app, so you have to click on that and open it. Facebook, you can also use online on a computer. So if your kid's got a Chromebook, they could sit there and check it on the computer. So you're like, they're doing good. They're doing homework. They're on their Chromebook. They're not on their phone. Any of these apps that are desktop compatible, I'll tell you about them. So you should be looking at that too. It's a standalone app, meaning you have to download it on the phone separately from Facebook. You can check it on a desktop if you want. It's connected with Facebook, and it syncs with your contacts because Facebook and Google are connected. So if your family have your contacts in your phones, they're going to have access to anybody in your contacts, and your kids are going to have access to anybody. Pretty concerning, but something to keep an eye on. Instant messages, you can do group chats, which we've had some issues with that with some of the kids. And then you can record voice messages, video, audio. You can send just about anything in there. You can attach it. And then there now is a secret conversations mode. Anybody aware of that one? Secret conversations. Yeah, it doesn't keep a record of it. They disappear. They go away. Nobody can see it. But why would Facebook do this? Right? They do this because they know this is what kids want. They put it in there. Right? That's why they do it. This is the big one. This is the most popular social media app as far as the most popular texting app is Snapchat, but we'll get to that. Instagram. And this is one where we see problems all the time. All the time. It's a standalone app, but you can pull it up on a computer, on a desktop. You just can't message on the desktop. You can like stuff, you can comment on it, you just can't message on the desktop. So that's good. But it has its own messenger. That's what it looks like. Up there, that's the user that posted it up there. Isis Valverde. The little heart down there means you're liking it, and I'll get into that. You can snap photos and put them right up. That's what it was really designed for, was take a picture, Valerie here, put her online immediately. But people upload their own photo, they steal them off the internet and upload them. So not necessarily you have to take a picture, it's a little harder. And you can put real short videos on. The default when you download this app is it's public. You have to make it private. Sometimes if you're on this, you'll go and you'll see and it'll say that you need to ask the person to be able to follow them. But the default is public. And kids put hashtags on stuff. So even if they're private, they can put hashtag Adventist Chapel. Anybody putting hashtag Adventist Chapel in Instagram or Google is going to see photos that were posted with that hashtag attached to it. You know what I mean? You see sometimes people put like 100 of them, right? Hashtag idiot, hashtag this, hashtag that. And anybody that puts that hashtag in that wants to see photos of it, they'll find them. My son will do that. He'll put hashtag Tulare Skate Park. He wants to see if there's pictures of anybody skating there. And anybody that has tagged Tulare Skate Park and any pictures on Instagram will show up in it. And you can send private messages. That's what a feed looks like, and that's when you hear that term feed. When you pull up Instagram, and you'll see kids doing this, or you guys might even do it. They'll be doing that, right? And it's like, why are they cleaning their phone so much? Yeah, but they're scrolling through their feed because anybody that they're following, meaning somebody that they've clicked follow, that posts anything is going to show up on their feed constantly. So they're going to be rolling through it. They might do it with their thumb. They're going to be rolling through that feed. And then if they like it, they can hit the little heart button. If they want to comment, they can hit that little button under the soccer player's legs that looks like a little bubble. They can send a message, a little airplane, right from there. It's very like-driven. And this is a problem for some kids because they do measure their self-worth by likes. It's a big deal to them. Some kids will start following people just to get them to follow them back. They'll follow anybody they can find, which is kind of creepy, right? Click follow. And as soon as you follow somebody, they get a notice that you're following them, and they go, oh, cool, and they usually follow you back. You have no idea who these people are. So a lot of kids follow strangers because they want to get likes back. Because they'll pull up their friend, they'll go, look at this dude's got 30 followers, what a dork, where somebody's got 300 or 400. Even in elections, they'll gauge how the election's going, even local elections, by how many followers their page has, their Instagram page has. And unfortunately, kids are really measuring their self-worth based on the number of likes they get, the number of followers they get. And they may be more likely to take chances and make poor decisions because they want those likes and they want those followers, unfortunately. So when you pull up on that little feed there, somebody would have to punch that follow button to start following somebody. That means anything that they post is going to show up on the feed of anybody that's following them. The little heart means they like it. Little heart used to mean you loved it, and then the hashtags. They have to actually type that in. And that's what it looks like, right? See, this person would pull up there, Stephen Curry, he's following Leo Messi up there, has not followed the other ones. But when kids get on there, they'll tend to just go right down there and go follow, scroll, follow. They will. Because Instagram will suggest followers to them. And they know that probably about 50% of the people I follow are going to follow me back. So, again, it makes them look better. But you don't know who's following you, right? You might get the nice-looking young man on the right. You might get the other one, right? You don't know, right? You don't know on Instagram. You never know. And we get some creepy people on there. So look, hashtag Hanford High. See? Anybody that's put a picture of themselves up and hashtag Hanford High, you can see them and scroll through them. They're up there forever. And now Google picks them up. If you hashtag it, Google will pick them up too. So that's anybody, and those are videos. You can see a little video. Anybody that posted a picture of themselves up Hanford High, any wingnut can look at it. And that's what that hashtag does. It gives anybody access to it. And you can tag people, right? If your kid or your student or your client is in a picture with other kids, the person that posts it could click on where their face is and tag them. A little @ sign and put their name in there. And now that's going to come up. DM, if you ever hear that term, if you ever see that on a kid's phone, that means direct messaging. That means, I don't want to do this online. We're going to talk privately. DM me. You'll see it all the time on Instagram. Hey, bro, DM me. AMA, if that's typed in there, what do you think that means? Some people put that up. Ask me anything. It's dangerous. Dangerous thing for a kid to say when they don't know who's out there listening. And then, parents are watching. You ever see a kid text this or you see it on their phone? Should be concerned. But they use this all the time. Has anybody heard of that? All the time. And we've confronted these kids and they're like, yeah, we do, Paul, all the time. It means be careful what you're texting me. I got the old man back. I don't want him to see what we're texting. So it's good just to be aware of that stuff. There's also stories, and when you open it up, people will post stories, and those are gone after 24 hours. They can be videos and pictures. They're up, they're gone. Similar to the post, but called a story. Oh, there's a problem. Second boy arrested in social media threats Hanford schools. That was 2016. It was a while ago. Instagram was relatively young. That was an Instagram problem. That post was made on Instagram. It happened right here. Fortunately, that was a problem for us. Man had sex with minor he met online. Instagram. Met her on Instagram, right? She followed him. He followed her back. Had no idea who he was. Matt had sex based on that. We prosecuted him too. Instagram, and there's a kid following somebody. They follow him back. They start, hey, DM me. No, PAW. No, DM me. So they start DMing, direct messaging each other. Instagram, they met, and, bad situation. Bad situation. Anybody heard of Tinder? Dating app, no kid should really have this. It's a hookup app. I mean, everybody knows what hookup is, right? A little dating that moves a little quicker, right? Just like stalking. Stalking is a long romantic walk that only one of you knows about. You can laugh at it. So Tinder's a hookup app. No kid should have this on there. That's what the logo looks like. It's a little flame. And now it's almost 10% of the users are under 18, right? But when they sign up on it, no actual age verification. It shares your info with people that are near you. That's kind of creepy, huh? Hey, here's who's around you who signed up on here. And then that user can like or dislike. They'll see your match as they scroll through it. And they can either like or dislike it. And then they can contact you or you can contact them on Tinder. And it's really easy when you're searching on this. You can just, I think I've got a screenshot of it. You can just slide what the age of the person you're looking for. It's super easy. You can go, let's go down to 16. Let's go down to 18. Everybody's 18 on Tinder. Everybody. Anybody who's under 18 is 18 on Tinder. Nobody's 19. They're all 18. And then if you both like it, you can arrange a meetup. It's pretty scary. It shows your location once you both liked each other. Pretty scary, huh? When I always go on this, and I'll sign up again, and I'll do it just before I do these. That's the first thing that came up. Macy, 18, 23 miles away. Right? Don't know how old she is. She could be a kid. But that's inappropriate if you're 13-year-old, 15-year-old. That's what they're looking at. That's what they're seeing. So if they hit the little heart button, and she hits the little heart button, it would show them where each other is, and they could meet up with them. But that's the first one that came up. There's a case, not from our county, but pretty close by. These teens were using Tinder. They were having people meet, and they were robbing them. The person was going there in hopes of a date, meeting somebody, and they were getting robbed. So it's dangerous. Other stuff lurks. You never know who you're talking to, right? And in this case, there were no females involved at all. And this guy goes out there thinking he's going to meet an 18-year-old female, and he ended up getting robbed and beat up pretty bad. Anybody heard of Kik? Creepy one? Kind of a creepy one? You can know this icon because it's on there. It's a messaging app. You can share. If you're bored, you can chat with a bot, meaning the computer will talk back to you. It's very unusual, but that's pretty sad. If you run into a kid that's doing this, you probably want to talk to him a little more, find out what's going on. And the group chats can become problematic between kids because that's where some of the bullying. We've seen some bullying on Kik, unfortunately. You can create a completely anonymous account. You don't have to put your name in there at all. Everybody's anonymous on Kik. There's no verification process whatsoever. Anybody can message anybody, not private. Really no reason to have this. It operates outside of the little messaging app that you text people with. So if you look through messages of a kid, you're not going to see Kik messages unless you find it and click on it. No age verification at all. And there's groups on there, and I'm going to show you some of them. Look, this is the first thing I pulled up. Dark market, drugs for sale, gay parties never killed, drug shipping, drugs India, quality drugs, UK drugstore, right? That's the default that came up when I clicked on groups. The default, it's all dope on there. It's drugs, it's illicit sex, there's nothing good on there. So I would say that Kik is a relatively subversive act, and there's really no legitimate reason for a kid to have it. Anybody heard of Omegle? This one's really creepy. This one's going to creep you out. This is when you Google it, look what it said. Hey, talk to strangers. Sign up, talk to strangers. It's full of cool people, isn't it? Yeah, people that want to bury you. Omegle lets you meet them. When you meet them, we pick someone else at random, right? Doesn't matter what the age is because you don't have to say your age. You just log on to this thing and it says, would you like to start chatting now? You hit yes, and it says stranger. And they write hi, and then it says you. And that's how it works, literally. In fact, I was on it last night. My wife was sleeping, laughing at me, I was on it last night. Every time you go in there, it's creepy. You will never get you'll be the only normal person if you go in there. But it lists it in the chat as stranger, and then you, and then stranger as they type. Talk to strangers. This is an app too, but it's desktop-based too, so you can pull it up on any computer. No age verification. They don't care who you are. They don't want to know who you are. They don't track anything. They don't monitor it. National Center for Missing and Exploited Children doesn't monitor it. Nobody knows what's going on. Very scary. When you first try it sometime, pull it up at home. And when you do it, it'll say stranger. And the first thing they'll say almost 100% of the time is ASL. Right? They want to know your age, your section, and your location. Why would they want to know that? Because they're predators. This is one of the predator ones. These people are creepy. But that's the first thing. I signed in about 10 times last night. 8 of the times I had, what's up, bro? ASL? And they're all guys, almost all guys, So I'd say, yeah, I'm female. And then they'd just go nuts, There was one of them, I won't say what it is, but there was a, genital picture came right across, right there, right? And if any guy that thinks that a woman wants to see pictures of their genitals, even their spouse, nobody wants to see pictures of male genitals, ever. So I don't know, their radar's off or something. If somebody, am I right? Right, they're hideous. Nobody should be sending, it's never appropriate for anybody to be doing that. It's always a concern. Everybody knows I'm right. Just in general, men are repulsive generally, aren't we? I mean, see, there's a few nods out there. But yeah, this is a dangerous one. If you see this thing on the phone, get rid of it. Bad stuff. I went on it again. Look who I got matched up with, 9-inch man. I bet he's not this tall, right? I bet not. I think that might mean something else, but that was my match. You can't make this stuff up. So there's a Kik problem, right? Sexual exploitation, and this is just up in Fresno. Luckily, hasn't hit here yet, but maybe it is, and we don't know about it. Fresno, using Omegle Kick and the other apps, going after kids up there. Scary stuff, right? Man. Anybody ever heard of Holla? Another hookup app, really popular now. It looks pretty benign, the little logo with the seal. No, that's a graphic app. Random chatting app. It might you up with other people too. And then you can just swipe around, see, no, I want to holler at that person. You click on them and you can start chatting. If that's the person behind the picture. No age verification at all. There's a lot of nudity in drugs. A lot of nudity on that. I've signed in a couple times to just really bad stuff. Really bad stuff. Ooh. No. Even a doctor probably would be bummed out. And there's a ton of fake profiles on this. A ton of it. Just because people are hoping to see a picture. A lot of them. I signed into it, and that's the first thing I got. Is that. So obviously it's used for inappropriate means. And then you would swipe that if you wanted to match with them. But that was the first thing that came up when I signed in. I signed in as a 50-year-old man, and I get linked up with a 19-year-old. So that just shows you the computer's doing that on purpose. Blender's another app. Anybody heard of that one? Yeah. Oh, cool. I'm glad you guys haven't heard of these. These are the kind of the cool ones now that are going on. In fact, I just added a couple. So this is it's called a flirting app, but it's a hookup app. This one uses GPS tracking, so people can find you, so you can find them. So it says, can I have permission to use your GPS? And of course, kids just, yes. So it gives this app wants access to your photo gallery, it wants access to your GPS, so it can tell everybody where you are, so they can find you. There's no verification at all. And you have to, in order to use it, you got to enter a lot of personal information about yourself. So that's concerning, right? And then it does call you, which is really creepy. When I signed up for this, I've done it twice now, the phone rings. And you answer it, and then it just says, you're matched. But for something to actually call you, it's really creepy. Why would it want to call you, And it's probably getting some information from the phone. But it actually calls your phone. Try it sometime. Download. And none of these have like a virus or anything. But this one's creepy. It'll actually call your phone. We're going to verify now. We're going to call you. And anytime you get a call and there's nobody on the other line, you think of that movie, right, The Babysitter, right? Like somebody's going to kill you. Somebody's hanging up, they're going to kill you. That's what Blender looks like, so you would go through those pictures, and if you like somebody, you click on them. And then the little slide up there, you can just slide it. You can slide the left one, you can slide the age if you want, you can slide the location, so you can slide the age down as far as you want, and the location as close as you want, and see who's in there. Michelle looks kind of mean, doesn't she? Yeah. Anybody heard of this one? This is for kids that are bored. This is kids asking each other questions. All sexual stuff. No age verification, you can ask whatever you want. It's an app, and it's online based. Big problem. We've seen some problems with this. We've seen some kids sharing things on this that were concerning. But there's really no reason to have this. You're asking questions of strangers. Kids ask advice on this. A lot of it's sexually oriented. In fact, almost all of it. That's what it looks like, right? And there's some normal questions. Look, how can I tell if my daughter is or her had sex? Which is a good question, but it could be some creepy father. You never know. What's the first thing you do if you're the opposite sex for a day? But the majority of them, if you scroll through, there's going to be some really concerning ones. But kids just answer them. They have no idea who's asking them. The other person has no idea who's answering them. Anybody heard of Periscope? Streaming app? Yeah, it was designed for people to use at concerts and stuff like that, or a sporting event. So you can put up live videos, and people can like it, they can comment on it. In fact, what was the one where the power went out? Was it Janet Jackson? Yeah, there was a lot of people doing that, and in fact, she was upset and wanted people to put out a blast of, delete that, it's illegal, because you're not supposed to tape at a concert. Periscope was designed to tape live streaming sporting events and things like that, but it's used for a lot of other sexually oriented stuff, which is a problem. And it goes away, but somebody can certainly screenshot and save it. Shows everybody your location. Hey, here's where the video is coming from, right? So if somebody's doing that and videoing themselves, it's going to show right here where that is. So that's concerning, right? So I signed in again. Before I do these presentations, I sign in. Look, I'm drunk. Come chill. How old does that kid look? 13. It's pretty scary, huh? Visalia. I live in Visalia. Look, I mean, that was right there, and it shows you how many people are in each area that are on. That's a kid. So that's concerning. No age verification. It was what it was designed for. It's not being used for. So if this is on your kid's phone, I would be concerned about it. And their policy, though, 13 and older. So that's okay, right? Even though under COPPA, which is called the Child Online Protection Act, they're supposed to have 18 age verification. 13 and older. I think the makers of the app are overseas, so maybe they don't feel they're subject to that law. But I'm drunk, come chill was the first thing that came up. I think that kid looks pretty young to me. Anybody hear this one? Walkie-talkie app. This completely bypasses your messaging. You can just push it, and her and I could kind of talk. No record of it. We could just talk over it. Won't show up on the phone bill, right? Like a call made to another phone. Won't show a whole lot of activity. Won't show much data. You can send short little messages, but kids use this a lot. So because when the parents get the call logs, they get the call logs, so the number won't show up. So this is one way they can talk to somebody without it showing up that they're calling a certain number and getting calls. One way to do that. No new user verification at all. Download it and go. Scary. It's group chats, private chats. That's what it looks like. That's the little logo. And I show you the rest of them without the lettering under there so you can just see what the logo looks like. But that's what it's for. It probably it's useful, but you got to wonder, what do you need to, why can't you call each other? Anybody here? This is new. Narrowed it down. Oh, yeah, this is the newest. Look at that. Let's look at the ad for it. The secret way to get down with people nearby. Right? It is a hookup app. It is not a dating app. It's a hookup app. This is really hot with the kids now. Older kids, but I haven't seen it in anybody under 12 yet. And they go through the pictures. It used to be called Bang with Friends. So we know that it's a legitimate app, right? It has to be. Right? Because maybe they're drummers or something. Right? Am I naive? It was called that. So you go through it, and if you kind of swipe through the pictures, and if someone looks interesting, you're down. You're down, and then if they down you, then you can start chatting, and then your location comes up. This is a hot one now. That's the logo, the D, the down. This is a very hot hookup app now. It's supposed to be 18 plus, but it's on the honor system. It's on the honor system. So whatever age you say, they trust that you're that age. And everybody's 18 on down, I'm sure. A lot of explicit content. I logged in a lot of just stuff I couldn't even show you. Bad. How about text now? You heard of that one? This is, a lot of kids have this because it bypasses the phone and the text on here. You know when you open your phone, your messaging is always going to be down at the bottom, right? Everybody has a phone in here, right? You get that little messaging thing for your text. Some kids, I want to use that. My folks might go through that. Let me give you a record of that. I'm going to download an app and bypass it. So with this app, you can make calls and text over Wi-Fi. And there's going to be no record of the call, no record of the text. It's all going to be inside the app. And it's a very benign looking icon, isn't it? It's like, oh, what's that? It must be voicemail or something. Right? It's Wi-Fi. You don't even need cell service. Right? If you go to Starbucks or anywhere that has Wi-Fi, the COS has Wi-Fi, the courthouse, for God's sakes, has Wi-Fi. Anybody that wants to accept their terms. Nobody ever reads them. Just click accept terms. You're on Wi-Fi. You can make calls and you can text. Amazing. And it doesn't show up in any phone bills. Brand new case, right? Look at that. November 5th. 18-year-old threatened to shoot up West Hills College on that app right there. So just a few days ago. First big problem we've had there, but text now. That's what he was doing on. I can't talk too much about it, pending case. Just happened using that app. And it's tough. It's tough for law enforcement, because you want to go out and you want to find it and it's gone, and they want to get screenshots of it, and this stuff just disappears. But it just happened. Pretty sad. This is the big one. This is the big one the kids are using now. It's the big one, right? Mobile texting app. It's a photo sharing app. And a lot of people like it because that's not me. Because you can do stuff like this. Everybody's seen that. You make yourself look old. Everybody's kind of seen those. That's really what makes it popular. But the logo is called the Ghost Face Chiller. It's from a song. And what it means by the ghost is the stuff disappears. The messages go away. They all go away. There's really no record of it. It's very impermanent. And kids like that but it's impermanent to you, but it may not be impermanent to the person that got it. So the images come, you get them, and then they go away. But people will screenshot it. Once you screenshot it, it sends the other person a message that they screenshot it, which is kind of weird. But when you sign up, that's all you need, right? Just a mobile number, and you just need to make up a name. It'll send you a text, you respond with the little number in there, and you got Snapchat. You have it? Okay, good for you. Because her mom's here. But she's an adult, so. There's no age verification at all. It's on the honor system, just like everything else. Just roll that thing up, and you just count back, 18, and you're good. There's a lot of advertising on there and stuff. Click here, and if it's linked to your App Store account or your Google Play account, these kids can spend money through Snapchat, unfortunately, through these ads, and it'll come right out of your bank or your PayPal. So. And they have quizzes on there. Some of them can be relatively inappropriate. But once somebody views one of your snaps, which is a picture, then you get a notification that they've seen it. So that's kind of weird too, right? That's like, do you guys get those emails at work? This person wants a response, right? You hit cancel just like I do, right? Like, what are you're trying to prove I got it? You know, so I hit cancel every time. I never hit OK. And if a screenshot's taken, which you can do that on a phone, you hold down the home key and the power key, it'll take a screenshot. It'll send them a notice. This person screenshotted you. So that could cause a problem. Could cause some tension. There's an Instagram or a Snapchat case, right? 13-year-old made school shooting threat on Snapchat in Lemoore. Not too long ago. There's another one. Evan Alteen arrested us in 2018 for school shooting threat. Snapchat, same thing. Unfortunately, it's just poor decisions, I don't think either of these kids intended to do that, but it went through the court system, unfortunately. So pretty sad consequences for the kids, consequences for the parents. Probation's here, you guys know. It's really sad. Just something that could have been avoided. So let's talk about some issues with social media. Biggest issue is we don't know who the heck these people are. There's so many fake profiles. Another big issue is commercial sexual exploitation of children. Almost 100% of the cases I prosecuted were either the exploitation was on social media or the meeting up was on social media. Teen dating violence and cybercrime, right? Kids don't make good decisions. They make fake profiles. Everybody says, well, that's got to be illegal. There's a law that's got to be illegal. It is not illegal. That's the law. The only law that goes towards it is if you credibly impersonate an actual person. So if you just make up a name and make a profile, you're covered. There's no law against it. There is no criminal law against it. Everybody thinks there is. You actually have to impersonate another person to violate this newer law, which is Penal Code Section 528.5. And you have to do it for the purpose of harming, intimidating, threatening, or defrauding. Interesting. So there's more. Right? So a lot of people do think that. Didn't some of you guys think that? It's got to be illegal to make a fake profile. It's not. It might be a violation of the terms of service of the app, but they're not going to kick you off. They want customers. So that's the law there. Sometimes we do get those cases. Sometimes we see a lot of stalking cases. 646.9 in the Penal Code. It says any person who makes any credible threat, repeatedly follows or harasses somebody. A lot of those are done online, and it still can be stalking. That's a felony. It's not a strike, but it's a felony. Electronic harassment's a misdemeanor. This was made when people used to call up and hang up on the other person and yell at them. But it extends to phone or to data now, text or anything else. Criminal threats, that's a felony. That's a strike offense. And you go to prison for that one. That happens a lot over the text. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to shoot this place up or whatever. And then indirect electronic harassment. I had a very scary case in Tulare where a jilted ex put up a picture of his wife and said, free oral service for the next 30 minutes at the bank I work at. And then when the detective was there interviewing her, he said there were 35 guys within that 1 hour that came into the bank asking for this poor lady. So that's indirect harassment. You put up a post that will cause somebody else to become harassed. You impersonate them, put that up, that's a crime. Just a misdemeanor, though, California. Unfortunately. Child pornography is still a felony, which is good in California. We see this a lot. A lot of people don't know if an underage kid sends a picture to another underage kid, that is still child pornography. The law says any person. So, and if every time they share that could be another one. Unfortunately, a lot of kids think they're exempt from that. But possession of child pornography, the law says any person. Any person. Sending harmful matter, this is where we have people sending pictures of their genitalia and things like that online, usually adults, but sometimes kids, unfortunately. That's a registerable felony sex offense. Communication with a minor for sexual purposes. This can be as simple as, come here, little girl in the street, or sending a text. We charge this all the time. I've convicted a lot of people of this. And then our child molestation. I had a case about 10 years ago in Tulare County where there was a guy online with a young female, and he was telling her to touch herself. Now, the code section for child molestation doesn't specify that the perpetrator has to be the one doing the touching. So his direction of her touching herself was Penal Code Section 288, which was a felony, and we ended up sending him to prison for 8 years for that, even though he never met this kid. Incredible, huh? But that's the way it works. And unlawful sex with a minor, that is not, you have to register as a sex offender for that one, unfortunately. So, human trafficking, right? The big one, right? We do a lot of presentations on this. We try to reach a lot of people on this because when you hear the word trafficking, you think of people, bringing guns in, under tunnels and stuff, right? You think of traffic. It sounds like trafficking. Real human trafficking has nothing to do with traffic. There needs to be no transportation at all. Don't need to cross any state lines. Don't need to cross any county lines. A person can be trafficked in their own home. Anybody been to human trafficking trainings at all? Yeah, it's not what we think it is. So we go out and try and dispel the myth of what it is and what we most commonly see. And C-sex, the big one, commercial sexual exploitation of children. We're talking about pimping, as it would be the more common term. And people always think that, oh, well, that's got to be like a pimp, a guy with a hat and a cane, and, we don't get that. It doesn't happen. It might, but we don't get that. But the fact that it doesn't happen shouldn't change it, right? Because the effect on that victim, 1 victim, 10 victims, the effect on that one kid's the same, right? Those kids are broken. I've dealt with probably about 30 C-sex cases, and those kids, there's something that is forever stolen from them, their honor and their dignity. And somebody's doing that for money. So that's something that really needs to be taken seriously. It should be on everybody's radar. Because the guys that are doing this are not sophisticated, so they're pretty easy to catch. C-sex is defined any sexual activity involving a child in exchange for something of value. Now we're seeing that gangs are doing this a lot, right? Big money maker for the gangs was drugs, right? But you can only sell a drug once. You can sell a kid over and over and over, an adult over and over and over. So they're moving to pimping quite a bit now. The classic scenario that we see happens on social media. You usually have a younger female teenager meet an adult male. They have a conversation. What all intents and purposes to an outside observer would look as a normal romantic relationship begins. And then the person we call the pimp, and this is not somebody who's sophisticated or organized, would normally present some kind of financial crisis. Like, I'm having trouble with the bills. Or they'll say, I'd love to buy you these things, but I just can't afford it. But I have a friend that his girlfriend did this, and then it'll move into the pimping realm. It happens all the time. It really does. We see a lot of these. We see about 3 or 4 of these a year with one male, one female scenarios. Not a bunch of women chained to beds in places, not, what you think you see, like women walking the streets in scantily clad outfits. It's happening through social media with these one person, one perpetrator, one victim cases. And those kids want out of this. A lot of them feel like they have no other options. So it's important to know who the victims are in these C-sex cases, because they're kids that are online, and usually they're looking for something, right? They're kids with vulnerabilities. Foster youth, trouble at home, drugs at home, sexual abuse at home. They got nowhere to go. And if they have somewhere to go, they don't want to be there, right? I was one of those kids. I don't want to be at home. The last place I want to be at home. So if somebody presents me with a viable other option, I'm going to take it. The problem is these pimps, they start exploiting that. They start preying on the vulnerability of these poor kids and telling them, you don't want to go home. Your dad this, and you can't go home. You're better off with me. This is the life, This is the life. And then as they get further along, they'll tell them, the kids, we have a few kids that say, I don't want to do this anymore. I go, well, you're going to have to keep working because we need the money. And if you tell on me, nobody's going to believe you. You're a whore. Who's going to believe you? And the kids start to believe it. And even adult women start to believe it, that they're worthless, that nobody's going to believe them. They're told to distrust the justice system. And so it's no wonder that they don't cooperate with us when we or law enforcement investigates a case. Another reason is we call them prostitutes. Why would they cooperate with us if we're calling them a criminal? A child can't be a prostitute in the state of California. They can't. We're not allowed to prosecute them. So why would we refer to a kid that's involved in sexual exploitation as a prostitute? Right? We're further reinforce what it isn't. What it is child abuse and human trafficking. So it's important to change the language in that regard. It really is. It helps. And it's important to change the lens that you look at them with. That's what we're looking at, though, with the victims. There's always going to be some type of vulnerability that's going to be exploited by these guys. Always. 100% of the cases I prosecute. And I'll show you a couple of them. Where are the traffickers, right? They can't be here. How about that? Anybody remember this character? I'll give you the case study. We had a trafficker on the NES air station. Who are they? They ain't this guy anymore, right? We don't see that anymore. Those are the days of old. Anybody recognize Charles Benavides? The more naval airman, human trafficker, extraordinaire. Met a young lady online. They began texting. A sexual relationship developed. He began pimping her for money. Didn't use a gun, didn't use a knife, didn't threaten her. But she had trouble at home. There was trouble at home. Home wasn't a viable option anymore. This guy took advantage of it. He exploited those vulnerabilities. Her sister noticed she had a lot of money, told the mom. Mom confronted her. She wanted out. She got out. This happened right here. I prosecuted this guy. It happened right here. Naval airman, human trafficker. He's in prison. But that just shows you, right? What about this? Whenever I put this up, everybody thinks it's a victim. This is a trafficker right here in Hanford. Right? Everybody familiar with this one? It was in the news. Learn for Life. She was recruiting these other girls from there. She used some threats here and there, but she was the trafficker. Her boyfriend went to prison. She took over. She's the trafficker. We convicted her. We get a lot of heat from this because she was a kid when we convicted her, but she's doing 10 years in prison now. of human trafficking. Because she was trafficking young girls, 14, 15-year-old girls, a lot of them, right here in Hanford and over in Tulare. It was in the news a lot, if you look it up. But every time we put this up, people go, oh, poor kid. But no, that kid's a trafficker. And this kid is I hope when she gets out, she can get her act together. She's a very smart girl. You always see that when we deal with criminals. If these people would only put this effort, into something worthwhile. But I think there's hope for her. I do think there is. She seemed very remorseful. So hopefully. And there's another recent one that we've had where these folks took a young girl, kind of trained her up. Luckily, nothing happened. Never actually sold the young lady, but trained her up as to what she should charge, what kind of act should be done. Ended up taking her to Las Vegas. These cases all started on social media, and they were all solved on social media. This one was solved and was caught because this young lady put a young girl who was the victim's mother put up a Facebook post. I can't find my daughter. Anybody has information, there's a reward. She goes, reward! So she sent the mother a picture of the daughter. That's how we caught it. Same with this one. This mother, daughter gone, right? Most number one vulnerability, short-term runaways for human trafficking. These folks saw it and wanted to come back and get the reward. So that would be the number one vulnerability. And this one is truly hiding in plain sight. These perpetrators, you never know what they're going to look like. Number one vulnerability for these victims, though, is going to be short-term. If they're short-term runaway, run away for a little while, come home for a little while, run away for a couple of months. Especially if they come home, their nails are done, their hair's done, they have 2 phones, they're calling somebody daddy, that's not their father. Those terms are concerning. And that's what they call the game. The perpetrators call it the game or the life. They create this subculture of how cool their lifestyle is, and they use these terms. And they haven't permeated pop culture yet. So if you hear them, it's a red flag. And the handout that I have has all of them on the back. All of them. So these terms, when you hear them, like I said, like calling a boy, somebody that looks like a boyfriend daddy, the pimps require this. They're required to call them. Yeah, there's a few of them referring to a boyfriend as daddy, money flows, more than one phone unless they're working, and using lingo from the game. So take one of these papers before you go. And the phones are driving it, right? Right? Remember, you hear about prostitution turning a trick, right? It's called a date now. They don't use any of the terms anymore, and it's all done online. It's done on a website called My Red Book. Some of it's done subversively on Craigslist. And that girl there, she had security people working. She had people working for her, working security, working transport. It was like an operation. All done online. That should be a red flag, right? There's the pimps like this. But the big thing we're seeing now with the pimps is the crown. They want their victims, they want girls that work for them to have a crown with their initials on it or a crown. Really recent, this is really recent stuff. That's what we're seeing a lot of is crowns. These crown tattoos. So that could be a red flag. There's another one. See, that's probably the pimp's first or last name. Red flags for us, for sure. But most importantly, takeaways that we're not going to see this here probably. Let's hope we don't. We're not going to see a house where the cops kick the door in, and there's people chained to bed, condoms everywhere. It's going to be this one kid type of thing. But it's worth it for one kid. Because that kid's going to go through the same thing as every one of those girls, so it's worth it for him. It may not be pretty, it may not get a lot of media coverage, but if you can pull one kid out of it, it's worth it. For every second. So that's the classic scenario. Travelers, I've prosecuted a lot of travelers. This is the picture I put up at the beginning. Somebody that meets a kid online, and they want to meet him somewhere. Hey, let's meet in the parking lot here or there. We call them travelers. Creepy, right? And this still happens. Remember To Catch a Predator? That shows off the air, so you don't hear about it as much. You don't hear about it, and you don't hear about it as much because it's all being done on social media. So we're not catching it as much. That's what's scary. Look, it just happened. California man accused of having sex with a 16-year-old girl. This is a pending case. We just filed it. This guy, was in Lemoore. He started chatting this girl up on, everybody know, Facebook Messenger, right? Chats her up. She's 16. He's 24. Jesse Barnes is his name. He drives to Idaho to have sex with her. Meets her online. Classic traveler scenario. He drove out of state. We were able to charge him here for the communications. Idaho's prosecuting him for the actual hands-on child abuse, child sexual abuse, but we were able to get him under some of those code sections for communicating with a minor for felonies, so we sent him to prison. But that, again, this just happened, and he was just convicted like a week ago. Just happened. Facebook Messenger. Right? It was bypassing the parents would have never known because it wasn't the little text one, it was that Facebook Messenger. But they're using these things. 1 in 3 teens, teen dating violence, another thing we see on another topic. 1 in 3 teens, and when we go out, we ask them, we do teen dating violence, have experienced some type of, not necessarily being hit, kicked, but, being put in a position they didn't want to be in, feeling threatened in some way. And this is true all over the U.S. Every schoolyard fights, gang fights, teen dating violence exceeds every other type of youth violence. You would agree with that. It's sad. You see it early. You see the abusive behaviors early. And then even, this is true too. Half teenagers in relationships, they feel like that they're either controlled, threatened, they're being forced to do things or pressured to do things they don't want to do. And these are some red flags, right? Behavior changes. This is the most important one, I think, is this, if especially somebody that's in a relationship feels the need to respond immediately to their significant other, that's a problem, right? That's kind of a red flag there's some controlling behaviors there. It may not be what we think it is, but it's a sign of a controlling behavior. Not allowed to have friends, quiet, being afraid. There's kind of signs of teen dating violence. Like I said, we're in the schools. We try and get to these kids if we can, but if you guys see any of this stuff, these controlling behaviors, it's good to talk to the kid or let law enforcement know. Lastly, we talked about theft and cybercrime. That's the Xbox logo. You recognize that one? This is happening a lot, right? The kids play it. They're playing COD. You know what COD is? Call of Duty. That's one of the games. COD is Destiny, Fortnite, and they're just not good enough to get to the next level, right? So there's always some nut online that's willing to do it for them. Send me your username and password. I'll get to the next level. And these kids are doing it all the time. They're saying, here's my username and password, which invariably might be, as the parent, your username and password, which is linked to your Xbox Gold or Xbox Live account, which means they can start buying games on it. Or if you're like me and it's linked to PayPal, you got even more problems because PayPal won't send you a fraud alert. So kids sharing passwords and usernames is a big problem that we see. And the biggest one is on the video games, when they're online on the video games. But it's cybercrime. It's tough to prosecute, though, because the person stealing from it is usually not in California. It's really tough. Tough to prove who they are with a username. So that's something to be concerned about. So what works for all this stuff with social media, right? And this is the one that we found is letting the kids be the experts, right? When I put these together, I got a 17-year-old, and he goes, dude, nobody uses MySpace anymore. Those guys are dork. He's the one that... So if we let the kids be the experts and listen to them, they'll tell us what's going on. It's amazing what they'll share. Right? If you do that, they have senior ethics every year. If you go and you're a mentor, you'll get a table full of kids, and they're so honest. It's unbelievable. Really. But yeah, these kids know this stuff, so let them teach you about it, and then you'll know what they're up to. And then leading by example, discussing consequences, and there are these days. Man, the background checks we do at our office just for somebody that's going to answer the phone is unbelievable. We dig into their history as far back as we can go. There's long-term effects. And then, again, showing kids what a healthy relationship looks like, in your own life. And that's a decision that a lot of us at the DA's office, we've made a lot of personal decisions. Why are we listening to music that glamorizes domestic violence? Why are we watching movies and listening to songs that demean women? Why would we do that? And if we do that, are we not being an example, to kids? Are we being a good example? So just personal changes. It's something that we have done in our office and that we've kind of talked about as we do some of these presentations. A lot of the music out there, a lot of the media, a lot of the movies and things, they're not respectful, especially to women, and that's wrong. That needs to change. And the best way to change it is to model it and not support that type of stuff. So, thank you very much. I'm going to get the